After watching this video, you can feel confident about choosing and setting up your own automatic watering system for your bonsai, and you can feel relaxed about leaving it watering your trees while you're away. Let's take a look at it. I've just got back home after a long summer vacation away to find that all my bonsai and developing trees have survived the heatwave that hit Madrid this summer, and it's thanks to the automatic watering system that I installed a few weeks before I went away. First, let's dive straight into the pros and cons of using an automatic watering system to water a bonsai collection. The single biggest advantage? It waters your trees while you're away, or even if you just want to stay in bed for a day. Another advantage is that after its initial setup, it takes virtually none of your time. You only need to check it occasionally to make sure all your pots are getting adequate water. Now, there are quite a few disadvantages. I'm not going to lie, it really does take quite a long time to set up, especially if you've got a lot of trees to water. Even after you've installed it, all the nozzles can be quite fiddly to adjust and calibrate and get right. And then you need to set it up again every spring because you need to store it away over winter so that the tubes and nozzles and timer don't freeze and crack open. And two more disadvantages associated with bonsai: all those tubes and nozzles look a bit unattractive and can spoil the look of your beautiful trees. And secondly, whenever you want to work on one of your trees, you need to untangle it from the tubes before you take it to your workbench. And then afterwards you have to put it all back on again. And lastly, an automatic system necessarily uses tap water, so you have to accept all the chemicals and pH of the water through your taps. So with all those disadvantages on the table, if you still want to set up a system, here are some pointers to help you. First, you need to get a timer. You need to choose between a simple watering timer and a digital programmable timer. The difference is, a simple timer works on intervals. It just repeats watering every certain number of hours. Say, if you want to water twice a day, then you set the interval to 12 hours. But this is not the best, because if you water manually twice a day, you might do it at, say, 10 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, rather than 12 hours apart. So the answer here is to get a programmable system. They're a bit more expensive than interval timers, but not too high priced. This one is the third digital timer I've tried, and I'm really happy with it. There's more details and a link to it in the description below. It's easy to set up, and while I was away in the heatwave, I set it to water at 10:30 AM, 5 PM and 9 PM. The rest of summer only twice a day is sufficient. A quick tip, don't set the timer to water while the dark tubes are in direct sunlight, because the resulting hot water could scald your tree's roots. The next thing to consider is your water pressure. In my experience, the optimum is about 2 to 3 bars. If your pressure is lower than 2 bars, you won't get a decent spray out of your sprinkler nozzles. But if your pressure is too high, like more than 5 bars, there's a slight risk of a hose or joint splitting, and that could leave all your trees dry. A water pressure gauge is pretty cheap, but you can also do a simple test covering the hose head with your thumb. If the jet goes a few meters, you're probably okay. But if it goes higher than your house, then you should get a pressure regulator to reduce the pressure. Now, if the lower pressure doesn't provide enough water for all your trees, divide them into groups or zones and install a separate tube for each zone with different watering times. The next tip, very simply, use wider pipes to transport the water a greater distance. Then use thinner pipes to take the water to your spray nozzles. Don't use a long thin pipe with lots of attachments to it, because a lot of pressure is lost over its length, and your spray nozzles at the end will produce much less water than those near the tap. And on your wider pipes, use clamps to make sure the water pressure doesn't force them off their joints. There's also a nice addition that I've installed for adding liquid fertilizer to the water. These dispensers work by mixing in the fertilizer in your next watering. This is very convenient, but it's important to know that it won't fertilize your trees while you're away. But that's okay, all trees can go a few months without fertilizer, no problem. It's only the water they really can't live without. Next, you need to choose your spray nozzles, and here are a few recommendations based on pot size. For small pots, use 2 adjustable drippers, then there's some redundancy in case one of them blocks. These Gardena drippers are very finely adjustable, and they also clamp the thin tube so they can't pop off by water pressure alone. For mid-sized and large bonsai pots, use 2 or 3 spray nozzles directed downwards at the soil. These also water better than drippers if your soil is covered with moss. For deeper pots, use a sprinkler. They're not as adjustable as the Gardena drippers, but they are adjustable, and one of these sprinklers is capable of producing 8 times more water than a dripper. For seedlings and shoots in small grow pots, use spray nozzles suspended above several pots. Now my last tip, and an important one. Set up your system several weeks before you go away, so you've got time to calibrate and adjust each part. And then, while you're away, ask a friend to go and check it's working every couple of days. Or you could get a security camera directed at one of your favourite trees, so you can check it yourself at watering time. That's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy your vacation.